asked me this interesting question. He's like, I want to know how you want to be related with. And no one had ever asked me that before. And I actually was dumbstruck and started to cry. Because I think I never personally had ever asked, no one had ever asked me that before. In fact, it was so out of the realm of my universe that it was even a thing you can want or ask. But what that exposed for me is one, that is that actually I assume that I shouldn't have them. And two is I found out that I do have them. In fact, I have very specific ones I found out, right? So there's a lot of different ways that this can go, but just that question alone, right? We'll have Rick right on the board, just that question alone, right? Again, making something that's often implicit explicit.
This is one of those gold star questions. Okay. So after we and basically what we're doing is we're creating agreements. So me and the client are creating how is it that we're going to relate with each other? How we're establishing the relationship literally. What are the boundary waters? What are the rules here? When do we throw in the towel? What's that look like? The next one that I often get to is, and I'll say this directly to a client, is, first of all, I'll say, I have expectations too, by the way. And I have expectations of myself. One of my expectations is I'm going to bring my best to every session. And if you feel like I'm not doing that, I want you to call me out on that. You have free reign, and I'm asking you to really give it to me. If you feel like I'm not present, or it looks like I'd rather be somewhere else, or whatever you're feeling from me, call it out. Be transparent. That's how we're going to get value here, is by you demanding your value. And so, to the degree that you're going to participate, that's where you're going to get your value. And so, one of my expectations of myself might be I'm bringing my best. And the other one I always mention is, I promise not to shame you. I'm going to do my best to not shame you. And what that does is, that helps all the parts of that person start to relax and get that I'm not here to nail you to the cross and to shame you for all the things that you're probably already shamed about anyway. That's not what I'm here to do. And if you ever feel like I am shaming you, I want you to let me know that. If it ever comes across that way, I want you to let me know, because I might actually do it and not even be aware of it. And so I want you to really hold me to that also. And so this has a way also of building that connection and relaxing the defenses. So the person gets, I'm not here to blast them. I'm actually here to work with them, and even with all the resistances that might come up. And then we can always come back to this if they feel like I am shaming, etc. Then I drop down here to, this is always an interesting question, asking, so what level of honesty do you think would really serve you in this relationship? And almost always they're going to say, well, complete honesty. Yeah. It's like, oh, really? Okay, well, what does that mean to you? What is complete honesty? What's that mean to you? And ultimately what we're getting at is transparency. How transparent am I allowed to be with you? And I'm asking your permission. So this is one of those boundary things the guy just drew a moment ago, getting to that line. I'm asking permission, how transparent can we really be with each other in here? And if we really take off the kid gloves, what's that going to look like? And so this is where we start getting into those questions like, well, let's say I assign you something, some homework, and you don't do it. How do you want me to work with you on that? How do you want me to be in a relationship with you on that? And then they get to share, I want you to be gentle with me because I beat myself up all the time. Or, I want you to drill a sledgehammer into my face. They're going to say whatever they're going to say. But it gives us a chance to see what relationship they already have with themselves, ultimately. And also, other examples of level of honesty, sometimes I'll even say, if you really want to play that game, I sometimes have what's called a hide nothing policy, where we both promise both ways to hide nothing in this relationship. And so if I notice I'm holding back, I'm going to share that with you. I'm going to own that. And if you see that in me or have a question about something, I want you to bring that forth. And how do you want me to work with you if I notice you're hesitating about something? Or if you say you don't want to share something, how do you want me to work with you on that? And so it's really getting clear to ground zero with each other. It's really what this is about. Transparency. And even as I'm saying this with you, Guy, I can just feel myself relaxing, imagining the client really hearing this and being in shared reality with each other and shared humanity.
I'm glad you said that because I was just like, oh, cool. Yeah, I'm going to show you shit.
Yeah.
Just kidding.
Hey. And then lastly, this is by far my favorite question. And that is, okay, so you can imagine you've been living your whole life in a certain way. Your best thinking has got you here, literally. Your best thinking in the world has got you in this dilemma that you're in, which has gotten you to my office here. So imagine you've been living your life in this comfort zone. So do you get that to really make the progress in different shifts that you're wanting to make, that you'd actually have to leave that comfort zone, right? Chances are there's very good reasons why you're here. There's very good reasons why you've been operating in this comfort zone to keep you safe. So chances are when we start to veer from there and actually make some progress in some new territories, and you start to learn new ways of being in the world, new ways of being in relationship, that there's going to be this little part of you that comes up and sabotages the coaching, sabotages the process. And sometimes in coaching, in traditional coaching circles, they'll call that the backseat driver, or they'll call that the gremlin, or the inner saboteur. It's that part of us that scared shitless that we're about to do something totally unknown. And I'd rather stay in my familiar dance than to dance to another song I've never heard before. Like, that's fucking scary, even if it's supposed to be good for me. So this is an important question to highlight, because everyone's got their own little flavor of their saboteur.
Yep.
And so to have what's often not named in the space in the first session, I usually find one of the most impactful things I could do in establishing their relationship.
And this is the one that you want to write down for sure. I would write down all of these. But this is the one that you want to write down. And actually, if you meet in person, like, tape it up. And the important thing, I think the important question to ask is, how would I know when you're doing this? What are the signs? If you watched yourself from the outside, took a second, like, imagine watching yourself from the outside doing what you just said. What are the indications that I'm doing this? Because a lot of times, our saboteur is sneaky.
That's right. And the tricky thing is, it could be a chameleon, or in different situations, the saboteur is going to look different ways. And so, for some people, that might be procrastination, or it could be they're going to judge the coaching and judge this process as stupid and a waste of time and money. So it's really important to really get clear with that person what theirs looks like. Imagine if we did this with our lovers when we first started an intimate relationship. Like, what are the ways that you'll probably sabotage this relationship? And just get that on paper in the first date if you really want to geek out on this stuff.
Or you can spend the next 20 years finding it out slowly, right?
Yeah, real slow. Like a dull butter knife. Alright. Okay.
I just want to check out the time really quick just to see how much time we got before we... And really hit the ones that would be best.
Yeah.
Best.
How much time we got?
We got about like 10 minutes.
Okay, so we'll streamline this real quick. We're just going to run through a quick demo, and really the emphasis is for you guys to practice this in your first sessions, establish the relationship, and then really I'll be curious, send your emails, like, what comes up from this process? Is there any difference you notice this time than even the first round where we didn't give you the map? Okay.
Yes. It seems to me that if we were to hit 2 of them,